try and hurt your opponent.
Catch-22, right?
Or, you know, do you choose... And you're right, it's something it's very, very difficult to actually figure out. So, you know, the players got the headsets on. If we take a little bit of a closer look at the list here, you know, Gustavo, like you say, we've got that Galarian Moltres V, you've got that Galarian Moltres, but it's missing some of the things you might see in some of those other decks. Yeah. And then in the trainers, so many one-offs.
Oh yeah, for certain. That's going to be the build that you see all over these Urshifu decks. That's the only thing that's similar, I think, that there's a ton of one-off supporter cards. Gustavo, as you can see, his results here, an EUIC champion, an NAIC top 8, an LAIC top 8, and of course a junior world champion many years ago. He's gone through the age divisions and he's still at the top of his game.
Yeah, I mean, as far as 4 achievements go, it's hard to top that.
There's a longer list as well.
Oh, very much. Mateusz, like we've said, is a player who's been playing in locals, but we've got League Cup finals, League Cup top 4s. You know, a player who's established themselves in their local area, had that success at the local level, and then come out to this big international championships and proven, well, hang on a second. Turns out I'm pretty good here as well. I very much belong here. And now it's whether you can take that final step. I mean, imagine going from, you know, playing, you know, 4 and 5 round League Cups to coming to a 14-round plus top 8 international championship and then walking home with the whole thing. That would be such a change.
Yeah, that's like practicing for a marathon for like a week. You know, I'm sure Mateusz has put a ton of testing in at home, but there's nothing that just like playing in a tournament. It's a great way to get the reps in, and it is a huge step up here. So let's see how we can deal with the pressure. He's already been on stream a few times and has been putting on his A game, so we'll see if he can do it once again.
Well, that is an interesting point, because, you know, for players who are used to smaller tournaments, something like going on stream could be enough to, you know, disrupt them, to put them on tilt, make them a bit too nervous. Clearly not an issue with Mateusz. Let's have a look at the prizes here. That Galarian Moltres, the non-V from Gustavo, is prized, which could be awkward, and 2 Future Strike Energy for Mateusz is not ideal.
Yeah, pretty awkward for both players. The energy switch as well for Gustavo has been one of his trump cards the entire weekend. So that's something that we're going to have to keep track of. But fortunately, there are 2 copies of the Sword and Shield Inteleon in Gustavo's list, as well as 2 copies of the single prize Moltres. So he should be able to get around this relatively okay. And we are getting fist bumps. That means we are in our first top 4 Masters Division game here. Show some noise for both of the players, as we're going to get into a fantastic series.
Yeah, we got Gustavo starting with that Sobble. We got Mateusz starting off with that Mew. Not bad starters for either of the players. Gustavo, of course, would be using Keep Cooling if they were going second. Of course, they're going first here, so that's not going to be so much of a thing. And Mateusz, that Mew's not great on turn 1, but it's got free retreat, so who really cares?
Yeah, that's the great thing about it. You love seeing that Mew because it's always a pivot at the very least. Looking at his opening hands for Mateusz, just as he's fanning through, he doesn't have many cards that can help him draw. I think it's just 1 Quick Ball and maybe down to the likes of a Rotom Phone, perhaps. But it looks pretty okay for Gustavo at the very least, who's starting things off with an Energy Search here.
Absolutely, gets that Darkness Energy. We do see that Quick Ball coming down here. Yeah, discarding that energy. Oh, getting himself Snorlax. I like this. Darkness Energy into discard is great because you can recover it with Galarian Moltres V. And Snorlax has that Gormandize ability, lets you draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand. Sure, it ends your turn, but it's turn 1. You can't attack. You're ending without attacking. Might as well draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah, and you love putting Darkness Energy in that discard pile. It's a really safe place for it because he is playing the energy retrieval in addition to the Clara. So he has great ways to recover this. We're even going to see the retreat into the Snorlax. So all things considered, it's a really decent turn 1 for Gustavo.
Yeah, in a world where you're not allowed to use that Sobble to get a bunch of other Rapid Strike Pokemon or attack or anything like that, this is a very good way to go about the turn. Double Sobble and a Snorlax, and of course, with those Sobble down, that means Drizzile next turn, which means searching for any trainers you like. So, yeah, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Looks like there's a Rose Tower off the top. That could be really nice in combination with the Rotom Phone. So we could see another Quick Ball here, then play down the Rose Tower, Rotom Phone, and see what you get. So it's a pretty decent start here. It's not unlikely that Mateusz could get himself a turn 1 knockout if he goes down the line of trying to attack with this Meloetta here. There are 2 Fusion Strike energy in the prize card, so that could be a small hurdle for him. You certainly don't want to draw a third one before you've done your Sparkle play.
No, absolutely, because, yeah, Lisa Sparkle gets you 2 energy, but they have to be from the deck. With 2 in the discard, if 1 is up in your hand, you can only get 1 from the supporter card. That's not enough value coming in there. Of course, you will need an attachment for the turn as well. So, and there was actually a double turbo energy, I believe, in Mateusz's prizes too. So energy is going to be at a premium here. It's nice to get the KO with Meloetta, but if you put too much energy on the board and then get KO'd too quickly, that could end up coming back to bite you.
Yeah, and I think Mateusz does have an escape rope here. It's one of those things that commits you to the Meloetta play this turn. So instead we're going to see the retreat and then the escape rope. So it looks like he could be trying to power up the Mew here to use a Psychic Leap play on his first turn if he does get the Sparkle combo off.
That could be very nice. Get that energy on there, get a KO with a larger Pokemon. Gustavo's not really in much of a position to start getting KOs next turn. It's possible, don't get me wrong. You've got those Galarian, Moltres, the V can be gotten going in one turn after a KO with your right hand, but you're talking about a lot of combo pieces early on in the game where you've not had time to really set your board up, and that's where these combos are so much more difficult to pull off.
And it looks like it was a VIP pass to the top. That's the best friend of Rotom Phone, basically. And we even see a Rose Tower in the hand that can come into play. So not even having to spend a Genesect for just a couple cards, you could end up getting all 3 here from the Rose Tower and then get maximum value from those Genesect.
That is absolutely brilliant. We do see a Mew and a Fog Crystal from that as well. So, we're going to be able to get basically as many Pokemon on the bench as we want. That could be, well, it's going to be drawing till 6 with each Genesect. Using that Rose Tower is brilliant because it means you've not had to burn your Genesect too early. And it means you can now get maximum value from Genesect. And Mateusz at this stage is basically going to have whatever they want in terms of setting up here.
Yeah, I think the only danger now is that you're drawing so many cards from your Genesect that there's a decent chance that you could draw into one of those Fusion Energy before the Alessa Sparkle. So that's something that he's going to have to hope doesn't happen for him. Has already commit to his retreat for the turn, let's remind you. So he may be having to attach Psychic Energy to his Mew in the active position here and hoping to get a Psychic Leap play if he's able to Sparkle.
Yeah, absolutely. Retreating is once per turn. That is all you get. So there we see the first Genesect drawing a bunch of cards. We do see a Rotom Foam, but we don't see Elisa Sparkle. But
yeah, as long as you're dodging the Fusion Energy, that's always the good news. I mean, you can draw one more because you're going for a Psychic Leap play, of course, but you'd rather get both out into play so that you can be threatening multiple targets.
No, absolutely. It's fine to get the attack off, but you really want to get that second energy as well. Make sure you're building up multiple attackers because we know that Gustavo's deck has that burst potential. He does have some Pokemon he can drop, really quite quickly, these Darkness type attackers, and the last thing you want to do is use too many resources to get an attacker which then gets KO'd quickly. That's going to put Gustavo really in the driver's seat. So here we just see, we're shuffling up and we're going to see this Rotom Phone and hopefully getting an Elisa Sparkle.
Yeah, there's a small debate to just hold the Rotom Phone because you have a second Genesect anyway guaranteed, but if you were to draw into any additional Rotom Phone, it would be really awkward. We actually see a Switch pickup, which is something you can't even play. The Scoop Up Net is simply a burnable card, so it may be a card that you put to the top, knowing that you can just insta-play. So are Power Tablets. They're not that valuable in this matchup, surprisingly enough, because typically Gustavo is going to throw single prize Pokemon your way. So that is going to be the choice at the top of the deck here with the Rotom Phone. A bit of a whiff here, and it would be a little bit awkward if he's not able to find the Sparkle off these last 2 Genesects.
No, absolutely. We've got so much draw here. We were saying this a lot. The whole point of Mew is that you can draw cards. You've got Genesect, you've got that draw engine. Mew is not the deck it is without that Genesect draw engine. But you kind of rely... Oh, there we go. So we do finally hit it.
Yep. Looking
Gustavo
good.
has a look at the discard pile, but Elisa Sparkle is in the hand. And crucially...
Still 2 remaining in the deck.
Still 2 energy in the deck.
In the deck. That's fantastic. He's selecting his active Mew as well as the Meloetta, so he can start powering up a single prize Pokemon as well. It's a great way to attack Gustavo's game plan, which is going to be trying to get big revenge KO attacks with the Dark-type Pokemon. If you're only using single prize Pokemon and only feeding single prize Pokemon to Gustavo, it's going to be far less effective.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to get a nice KO here. And, I mean, this is another turn. This is a good turn. It's a long turn.
Oh, yeah.
We've been here for a while. We've seen many things going on. But at the end of your turn, you've got a Mew taking a KO on your Sobble. You've got the 2 energy there for when you VMAX next turn and attack. And you've got an energy on your Meloetta, as well as those 3 Genesect on the bench, giving you all the draw power you're going to need for the rest of the game. Quite frankly, this is as close to a perfect turn as you're ever going to find.
And are we going to see it going back into the deck? No, he's going to leave the Mew V in the active position. This does open up the floodgates. Gustavo has got 2 Darkness Energy in his discard pile already, so we could see the Moltres coming out of nowhere and revenge KOing for 2 prizes here. Do you think that's going to be a worthwhile play?
I mean, you need something like a choice band as well, because it's only doing a base 70 damage at the moment, because there's only one prize taken. I think if it's possible, absolutely.
I mean, the V. You could use the V.
Oh, the Galarian Moltres
It's only a 2 for 2, but it does help you out later down the line, because, you know, as both players progress their prize race, it just makes the one prize Moltres just far stronger.
Absolutely. I mean, a single prize could do it with a choice belt, so I think the V absolutely is the better play here. And I think if you can, you want to, because you want to be taking these threats off the board. There's only so many Mew that you're going to be facing down here. And sure, there's a Mew on the bench, and you need a Mew VMAX and a double turbo energy to get the KO. It's not the biggest combo in the world, but what you don't want to do here is just let Mateusz develop multiple Mew VMAX, have multiple attachments. You know, one of the things we know is that Mateusz is struggling a bit for energy with those prizes. So early pressure, I think, is going to be an advantage if it's a possibility.
Gustavo debating what to go for, and seeing the energy retrieval means he might be going down the one prize route rather than the Raihan route. So we are going to see the Sonya here could help him get a Sobble and the Galarian Moltres, because I do think that's going to be a priority for Gustavo, because he only got one Sobble, or sorry, one Drizzle right now, but instead going for a Crobat here, and he's going to try and dig his way towards this combo.
Absolutely. It worries me slightly that there's only one choice belt in the deck, so that is not going to be any... We know it's not prized, we know it's in the deck, but that's going to be a difficult card to find. That's one of the downsides of this Galarian Moltres so early in the game.
You have to think, if he's making this line, it's already in his hand, because he doesn't have access to any more shady deals. You'd think the choice belt comes down before the Crobat here.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So this Crobat is just to help him draw a few additional cards. We're also going to see the Urshifu V come down, and the Crobat V to draw up a few additional cards here. So not opting to get any additional Sobble here. I wonder if we're going to see that scoop up net play come in this turn.
Quite possibly. And I'd say a lot, when we're doing this casting, the players have access to more information than we do. If we know the choice belt's in his hand, we know he's going the single prize route.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be the one to go for. So, I mean, here, this is an excellent play. I love this. I like the V, but if you can use a single prizer now, save the V for later.
Net, but, oh, it's for Snorlax. Have we missed the energy drop from the Crobat dig here?
I think we might have.
Oh man, it's just going to be ending up on a Gormandize.
Oh, that is not an ideal scenario. And I really liked what Gustavo was doing, benching that Urshifu. I love the idea of saying, look, two cheeky prizes. Don't worry about the Pokemon that are KOing you. Come after these easy prizes. But if they don't, you can start building it up and potentially actually using it to take prizes later on. So I really liked having that as a bit of a diversion or a backup option later, but missing that energy is huge. How do you get the choice belt but miss the energy?
Yeah, that feels a little bit rough, as Mateusz is going to start off his turn by playing a switch out of his hand and drops 2 power tablets just so he can draw a couple additional cards from Genesect. They did not seem helpful. That was just a VIP pass and a switch, I believe, which he was already just trying to burn out of his hand. His hand is clogged full of Pokemon right now.
Absolutely. And one interesting thing, of course, you know, Gustavo just feeds this Snorlax to Mateusz, lets him have an extra prize, because actually then you're hitting a base of 120 and we actually would be 10 damage short with the choice belt on the Mew VMAX.
Yeah, it's a Rotom phone, puts a boss's orders to the top, so his final Genesect can draw into a boss's orders, so he can target down the Galarian Moltres if he feels that's best, or because he's played some power tablets, he could be looking for a Psychic Leap KO on a 2-prizer here. Yeah,
that would also be an excellent play. You know, you play them anyway, you might as well try and make use of them. Boss's orders has got to be the play. You don't want to KO that Snorlax. No. Galarian Moltres is a much bigger target here. Or you've got those 2 prize Pokemon. I mean, to be fair, Snorlax is the worst one you want to KO, but yeah, it's got to be the Galarian Moltres.
Yeah, makes sense, especially because he's already on odd prize cards. You may as well take this 1 prize knockout this turn. And he is going to be potentially leaping, or is he just leaving the VMAX in the active position here? We'll see. Yeah, he's kept the VMAX in the active. It's a bold call.
It is a bold call, but you're thinking at this stage, I mean, the single prize no longer gets a KO. Even with a choice bout, which isn't available, you're only actually hitting 300 damage, which isn't enough. The V can do it. The Galarian Moltres V can absolutely get a KO, but that's quite a combo at this stage. That's the only real way Mateusz loses, unless I'm missing something, the only way Mateusz loses the VMAX here. So I quite like leaving it out there, because now you've got an attacker ready for, you know, next turn or the turn after. So Now, I like this. This is nice.
Straight away, we see that Clara. Give me back that Moltres. I want to try one more time. And let's see if he can find his way towards some energy search this turn to actually unlock this Moltres that he whiffed on last turn.
Absolutely, and it's so awkward. Had he not missed that energy, he gets a KO on the Mew, he puts Mateusz in a much more awkward position, gets those 2 prizes, and, you know, forces Mateusz to go after that single prize Pokemon, whereas as it is, he got no value out of it. Just for the sake of a basic energy, you lose all value from that Galarian Moltres, and now you're really on the back foot. You've got these answers, you've got these Darkness Pokemon, but it's awkward. We do see an escape rope here.
This is a little bit awkward for Gustavo. As we know, he's played his supporter already, and I don't think he has any way to... Actually, he does have Energy Search available and 1 Drizzle in the hand, so he can Shady Dealings for Energy Search here. He'll only be taking a 1 prize knockout, but he didn't have access to more than 1 Drizzle. He only had 1 Shady Dealings here, so he had to play the rope, even though he would prefer to KO the VMAX, obviously. This was the only way he could piece together any knockout.
Absolutely, and you're still taking out the Meloetta, you're still taking out a good attacking Pokemon, there's still absolutely benefit to this, but you're right, that seemed like a reluctant escape rope. It wasn't really what you were looking for, but you need to keep up the tempo, you need to get that prize, you need to, you know, you can't just let Mateusz, even though it's only single prize Pokemon, you can't let Mateusz just keep taking KO after KO.
And speaking of which, because there's so many multiple prize Pokemon in play, if Mateusz goes boss's orders, he can have a pretty easy prize map here to win in 2 attacks, no matter what Gustavo throws at him.
Absolutely. We all know that Urshifu is not going to take much to knock out, and Crobat's one of those support Pokemon, V, and they famously have very low HP. So
famously, yeah.
Even if you're using something like a double turbo energy, you know, that 20 less damage is not going to make a difference. You're not going to need those damage modifiers that Mateusz, you know, kind of burned a lot of them early game because they're not that relevant. And with all these Genesect, all this draw power, I think you're right. If we can just see a couple of boss's orders, Mateusz could be taking a pretty quick game 1, and we could be heading off to game 2.
I was only seeing 1 copy of boss's orders in the deck as he was fanning through. I'm not sure if 1 copy is prized, but I believe he's only played 1 so far in the game. He may have burned 1 early with an Ultra Ball as well. We'll have to get confirmation of that, but I think if he's going for a boss's orders line here, it means he has access to 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see the Mew coming down here. We get an energy going on there quite nicely, but it's all about the VMAX. It's in the active, it's got 2 energy on it, and it used, what was it called, Psychic Leap last turn, which is important because it meant you don't have that downside of not being able to attack the following turn. So we do see boss's orders coming down.
So he does have that second copy. I just wasn't able to see it. So that's already found its way to his hand. So all Mateusz needs to do with these Genesects for the remainder of the game is look to try and find his next copy of VMAX and 1 more energy, because he's just attached to the bench here. But his map is pretty routine. He can simply just boss's orders this turn, which he's done on the Crobat. That's an easy 2 prize knockout. And then there's an Urshifu, which is also another easy 2 prize knockout here. So Gustavo's whiffs along the way has really helped Mateusz now just pole vault ahead in the prize race, and he's not even concerned about any Moltres shenanigans anymore.
No, not at all. It's in that glorious situation of the game where what your opponent does makes no difference to you. KO my Pokemon, don't care. And to be honest, getting a KO just means you don't have to bother switching out to a new Mew anymore.
Yeah.
You take the KO on the Crobat, and what Gustavo does on his turn does not matter. If you get an energy and a Mew VMAX, and with the boss's orders we know he's got in hand, you will win next turn regardless.
And we're going to see Mew VMAX copying that Techno Blast from Genesect. He wasn't able to take the double turbo from prizes. I think that would have meant that he had the entire combo in hand, but he did get a fusion energy. So I think Mateusz is just sat on win here. He has energy, boss's orders, and VMAX already established.
Yeah, in which case I think we're looking pretty good here. And you know, Gustavo doesn't know this, playing out the game, trying to do everything you can. You know, with 4 prizes taken, that means that Galarian Moltres should be getting a KO. You're hitting 220, so yeah, easily miles over.
Yeah.
But it's all gonna be for naught. You know, Gustavo's basically thinking, right, well, I take a KO on the Mew VMAX here. I need to hope that Mateusz doesn't have that combo of energy, boss's orders, and the VMAX. And then I can win the following turn, because Gustavo's only 1 turn behind here.
Yeah.
The problem is, we know Mateusz has got that combo.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the best thing Gustavo could have done for the disruption would have been like an Avery or something like that, just to try and deny the draw of Genesect, but we already know that it's all in hand, so there really isn't much Gustavo can do here, as we know, but he's going through the motions just saying that Mateusz has to have it in hand, as we all know it does right now, but Gustavo's not to know that, and at least has to force this prize race here.
No, absolutely. And, you know, somewhat annoyingly, Gustavo's not playing any Marnie, not playing any Judge. And there's reasons to play it, reasons not to play it. Right now, I think Gustavo would quite like to have one of those cards.
Yeah, and we're going to see Evolution Incense for Inteleon. Gustavo is setting himself up as best he can to try and make sure that he has the game in the following turn. We're going to see a couple scoop up nets coming in as well now, just to give him even more access to Shady Dealings on the following turn. Gustavo has to prepare as if he is still in the game here, so he is going to do that as much as possible, rebenching that Sobble straight away. He's holding a ton of options with Shady Dealings next turn, and he can have that big Fiery Wrath KO for 3 prizes, but I believe it's all wrapped up here.
Absolutely, if Mateusz has, and there we go, Boss's orders, Movie Max, and an energy, and Mateusz takes a pretty quick 1-0 victory, well, you know, first game victory. The match is still going.
Oh, yeah.
But does take a 1-0 lead in this top 4 game. It is a best of 3. Gustavo is absolutely not out of this, but, you know, not only has Mateusz won that first game, that was a fairly straightforward victory. Never really in much danger, and it's a matchup that on paper you've got to think Mateusz quite likes. Although to be fair, you know, he did say that one of those matches he wasn't looking forward to was those Urshifu with that dark package. So it really is all down to that dark package. If Gustavo can get it on board a bit quicker and a bit more reliably this game, we could see something different. But the way that Mateusz's deck set up last game, if your deck sets up like that, you're not going to lose.
Yeah, and I think the Crobat almost betrayed Gustavo there. He used it to try and dig some additional cards to allow him to have a big swing turn with an early game Moltres, but he whiffed on energy, and then the Crobat sat there for some easy prize cards for Mateusz. So it was a calculated risk, but he wasn't able to accumulate any energy cards, and because his early game only had 1 Sobble down, he could only have access to 1 Shady Dealings, and that's really how you piece together these combos. So I think Gustavo's priority this game is going to be try and get a wider board full of those Sobbles.
No, absolutely, and it's interesting, you know, Gustavo's got the choice here. Do you want to go first or do you want to go second? Going second does give you access to Sobble's attack, you know, keep calling out those Pokemon, but going first can get that pressure, and, you know, letting Mew go second or letting Mew go first can give them a lot of pressure in the early game as well. It's an interesting decision to make, but the thing to remember is Gustavo's been here before.
Yep.
He's been down 1 game more times than you can count, so, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's just, there's no room for error anymore.
No, and there's plenty of time on the clock as well, so he can still methodically go through his plays. As you can see, he's not letting that loss put him off here. He's been able to do his early game deck searching as normal. He's got himself a Sobble and a Darkness Energy in those openings, so he can straight away get a second one developed as quickly as possible. We're also going to see that quick ball. We could see a repeat of the first game, actually. It's going to be the exact same board state, as he's going to search out Snorlax again, getting the Darkness Energy in the discard pile again to help fuel the early game options of Moltres V and even the 1 prize Moltres in his deck. So Snorlax has been one of his crucial cards, especially because he likes to go first with his archetype.
Absolutely, and to be fair, you know, this opening turn wasn't the problem. Oh, what have we got?
Double VIP, we're popping off.
It's really popping off. Double VIP pass gets 4 basic Pokemon to your bench, and you know, when you know that at least 2 of them, maybe 3, are going to end up being Genesects, the chances of not drawing into that last Pokemon you need or a card with which to get it is so slim. The Mateusz is basically starting off again turn 1 with everything they need. This is consistency beyond measure.
And yeah, you can say like, oh, Mew always has this, but man, in high pressure situations when you just got to get over the line, it's so fantastic to have such a great opening here and not having to discard any precious resources in order to establish this board. It's already just out there in front of him, and you've thinned these VIP passes out of your deck that can be such awkward draws later on. It's the ideal start so far. Let's see how far he can push with some Fusion Strike systems.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, Mateusz has had many games where those Battle VIP P-Pass just will not appear, and using Rotom Phone after Rotom Phone cannot find them. Here they've come out, and you know, game 2 of top 4 of EUIC, that's a good time for them to make their appearance. So we get 2 Genesect down, we've got a Meloetta, we've got a Mew, and we've got a Mew in the active. So, you know, you've got your single prize attacker, you've got your Mew and your backup Mew, you've got your Genesect for your draw power. There is an Oricorio in hand, but there is a chance that that's going to want to be saved and, you know, that bench space used for a different Pokemon.
Choice belting Genesect really is an interesting call here, as he is just going to quickly reorganize the board. I think I still would have liked to have seen a choice belt on one of the Mews or the Meloetta. I don't really see a reason not to, but the first Fusion Strike system straight away gets that Sparkle. It's going to be another big turn, and he's selected that Mew as well as Meloetta. So once again, he has a Psychic Leap option this turn. Will he be able to combine it with an Escape Rope like we saw in the first game?
I mean, that would be absolutely ideal. KO in a Snorlax is fine. You take a prize. You know, you hurt your opponent a little bit, but you want to take out that Sobble. That's what you're really aiming for. Because, you know, we saw the difficulty Gustavo had in game 1 with only access to, you know, 1 Shady Dealings per turn. It doesn't get you what you need. You miss parts of the combo. You know, Gustavo missed a key KO for want of a single basic energy.
Yeah.
So keeping those Sobble on the board so that they can evolve into Drizzile is absolutely huge. So Mateusz here, yet to pick that 5th Pokemon, not bench down that Oricorio yet, does now have a quick ball, so I think we're going to see what that 5th bench Pokemon is going to be. Might be a Genesect.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good shout, especially when you're holding on to a Cramomatic. You can give yourself an extra push to find any item card, and that gives you a really good shot at finding, well, the 50-50 shot. I shouldn't say really good. Sometimes it could be really bad, hitting that Escape Rope to start off the game just as aggressively as he did in that first one.
No, absolutely. And, you know, it was seeing a real deja vu here. This game is currently going like exactly like game 1 went. So, you know, presumably next turn, Gustavo is going to be going for that single prize Galarian Moltres.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that we can get the 3rd energy there to make a bit of a difference.
Well, first of all, we got that last Genesect to go. 3 cards here. Actually draws into the Escape Rope.
Ooh,
not
that's
too shabby.
nice.
I think that's going to be a fantastic option here. He gets to hold on to the Cramomatic for a future turn. And the only difference here is that there's no floating Fusion Strike energies around the board. He is able to take a prize card here and go up in this race. A really decent start here. Let's see if Gustavo can try and punish it, which he failed to do in that first game.
No, absolutely. Now, of course, we did see the single prize Galarian Moltres last turn because Gustavo had that one-of-choice bout in his hand, meant that the numbers worked very nicely indeed, put you up to 200 damage with the weakness. That was lovely, but it's not something you can do reliably unless you've got that Sobble to search out the choice belt.
Ooh, he's going for it again. You love to see it.
It's like you can hear me because that was very weird timing.
This time it's Sonya, though, so maybe that guarantees some energy to hand. That means he's probably already got one of his 2 Galarian Moltres in the hand, and the fact that he's going for a fighting energy means he's probably already got a fighting in hand as well. So you feel like if he's spending his supporter in order to get this done, it's already guaranteed here, and he could be responding straight away with a 2-prize KO.
That would be huge. We will need a pivot for the Drizzile here as well. There's the free energy, there's the choice belt, there's the scoop up net, and that's also going to give a Drizzile next turn. And there's a second Sobble. This is different.
This is the difference between hitting it and missing it right here.
This is our sliding doors moment, Joe.
Oh my goodness, absolutely incredible. A big response from Gustavo whilst keeping a decent board at the same time. What a hand he was holding. His one-of Sonya coming in so clutch there, being picked up by the Shady Dealings. And now it's down to Mateusz, who was able to breeze through a prize race thanks to the missed KO in the last game. How's he going to navigate it when he's gone down 2 prize cards?
I mean, taking that Cramomatic is pretty good. Flipping heads.
It's never bad, right?
Also pretty good. They're going to be able to draw, you know, whatever you need in terms of cards there. You know, you're going to be able to search for that card that you want. And, you know, it's just taking a Galarian Moltres off the board. That's the priority at this stage. It's only going to get more powerful as the game wears on. But their original double turbo energy, so that KO is locked in at this stage. And now it's just developing the board.
Yep, unfortunately, he has 1 Fusion Energy prized and 1 in hand, so he can't get any additional energy into play here via Sparkle, so he's just limited to this 1 Mew VMAX, so he might just have to leave it on the board here, because I think it's a lot to ask for if you start trying to get power tablets and get kooky with copying a Psychic Leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's just all down to what's the easiest KO you can actually go and take here. So we've seen more deck searches looking for, you get a power tablet coming out.
Tough call. He is going for the power tablet.
It is power tablet in the end.
I think it gives him that reach potential, which I think is pretty good here. If you can combine a few tablets all in one go, you can at least move this VMAX out of play to only give Gustavo some awkward prizes. Even putting a Genesect V up would be pretty tanky at this stage because he's not taken enough prize cards for it to be too dangerous or detrimental. As we are seeing a Rose Tower come down just for a -1 to draw a few additional cards with Genesect number 2. And he's going into some ball search, so he can start thinning some of the more awkward cards out of his hand.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is exactly what he's going to be looking to do.
Just going to
that quick ball.
Yep.
Not even really. What do you need? You've got a full bench. You've got all the Pokemon you need.
You just play it to thin it. That's the beauty of playing so many insta-playable item cards, and draws not too many helpful ones here. But he is going to have to copy the Technoblast. Isn't able to string together enough power tablets off that final Genesect. So he is going to leave a 3-prize VMAX in the active. Gustavo's got to be licking his lips here.
Absolutely, and this seems to be the turn for Galarian Moltres. And we've seen this before. It kind of has to be at this stage. If we can see a big return KO from Gustavo, then he's going to go down to literally just 1 prize card remaining. It's going to be absolutely huge. If we don't, then Mateusz is going to be looking to do what happened last game. The big difference, of course, there are currently no 2-prize Pokemon on Gustavo's side of the board.
Yeah, and that is huge. And it looks like he's able to piece together a Clara here. He's slow shuffling. He's not too sure about it being the right option, but it is going to be his selection here. Mateusz has taken 2 prize cards so far. So the Fiery Wrath is up to 120 damage, and we are going to see an escape rope here to try and make it a little bit better for him. Gustavo may just take a turn off once again and do like a Gourmandize play because you're leaving the board with only 1 prize Pokemon and you're setting up that Clara play for a future turn.
No, I like that very much indeed. What you don't want to do is just give your opponent nice, easy options for KOs, because although we do see the Galarian Moltres coming down here, and this is going to be awkward, if we do see it end on a Gourmandize play, which it seems like what's going to be, that does give Mateusz an easy option for Boss's Orders. And we've seen Mateusz has not really struggled to get Boss's Orders plays off. You will need to pivot, you'll need to get out of the active with Genesect, but this could go badly.
Gustavo still has plenty of time, though, and he's actually got his hand down to, I think, 0 cards, so it's a fresh... It's going to be 3 cards first from Rose Tower, or it's actually 1 card from Rose Tower by the looks of things, and it's going to be Gourmandizing up for the rest. So, yeah, it seems like it's forcing a Boss's Orders play here for the 1 prize Moltres, as we are going to see a Tool Jammer coming down onto the VMAX. We're also going to have to see some switch outs if we are going to get this Genesect out the way here. But it does give Mateusz free reign to at least start attaching to some other Pokemon here. He opts to go for the Mew V, and we're going to see the first Fusion Strike system for 2 cards. It hits the switch, and that was a big deal because he didn't have much else going on here. It's got to feel good to hit that. And you can also get an additional card here from Genesect number 2. A Cramomatic can help matters also. Actually, I don't think he's got many items in his hand at all. Oh, he just has that 1 VIP pass that's been stuck for a little while. And the Cramomatic is going to get heads. Man, Mateusz is running wild right now. He's able to Power Tablet again this turn if he wants to and do a Psychic Leap play.
Yeah, that would be really quite big. That would make a big difference. Looks like he's eyeing up something a little bit different, though. Looks like he's eyeing up that Scoop Up net to, well, that's a weird one, though, because there's only a 1-of in the deck, and it's not what you generally see. I'm lying to you. It is a 1-of in the deck. It's not what you see very often in these Mew decks, but you can use it to, move these single-prize Pokemon, pick them up, deny prizes. One thing that is very interesting, Mateusz only plays 2 Switch and 1 Escape Rope in his deck. That is not many switching options, and we've already seen at least an Escape Rope and a Switch hit the discard. And, Mateusz did say that in the previous game, 1 more Boss's Orders, and they would have scooped that game.
And we are seeing that final Genesect, it doesn't hit the final Power Tablet, so once again, I believe, thanks to the reduction of the double turbo energy, he's forced to copy Technoblast once again, which is a little bit awkward for him. He wasn't able to protect his VMAX and take 3 prizes off the board, and once again, just throw a Genesect or another, the Meloetta or something like that into the active, so he is still allowing Gustavo to potentially take a 3-prize swing back in his favor here.
No, absolutely, and that would really help. You know, Mateusz might only have 3 prizes remaining, but as it stands, there are no double prize Pokemon on Gustavo's side of the board. These are all single prize Pokemon, which means that, you know, it's still 3 attacks before Mateusz can win. Now, here does come a 2 prize Pokemon, but I rather suspect this one's going to be worth it. If we can see this pulled off this turn, it's going to take out the Mew and just leave 1 prize card remaining. Well, we know that Galarian Moltres is a fun option, the single prizer for Gustavo, and that could KO pretty much anything after this 2 prizer goes down. In fact, it can KO anything, so that's got to be the route Gustavo's looking at here. Get the KO with a V, and then it doesn't really matter if Mateusz KOs it or not. If they don't, you win. If they do, you need the single prizer, and that will give you the win.
And I think the best thing about this is that Gustavo is able to use the right hand here to get any card out of his deck, which I think is fantastic. I'm surprised he didn't right hand before the scoop up net, because he could have grabbed Shady Dealings in Teleon and got any 2 cards he would have liked instead pre the net, because he didn't deal for the right hand. He already had it in his hand. So a bit of an interesting choice there to right hand proactively rather than get the Sword and Shield Inteleon rolling, because he could have got some extra value there.
Yeah, he absolutely could. If he pulls off this attack, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I think he's going to be totally okay with it. But no, you're right. When you're looking at these big games, you need to look for every margin you can. You know, we've seen some tiny little plays make big differences already. We've seen some razor-thin margins. We do see the free energy on that Galarian Moltres. We've got Sobble on the board. We've got Drizzile on the board. And what Gustavo is doing here is setting up so that Shady Dealings can hopefully get him where he needs to be in terms of that Galarian Moltres next turn. This turn, the KO is in the bag. That's not an issue. And Mateusz here kind of has to take a return KO and cross fingers that Galarian Moltres is not coming down.
Yeah, it's not a fantastic feeling, especially, again, when Mateusz doesn't play any hand disruption whatsoever. It's really down to if Gustavo's collected the pieces of the puzzle, as he's going to take that 3 prize knockout with Aura Burn, the Dire Flame Wings and Raihan combining to get this 2 prize Pokemon out of nowhere to score a big 3 prize response KO here. And there's all Mateusz really can do here is establish another Mew and ask Gustavo, do you have it?
Absolutely. I think he's missing the VMAX as it stands at the moment. So does need to dig for that. But the Rotom phone, did that get something?
That was an Ultra Ball.
There we go.
Yeah, I think he's done all he can, really. You're taking that 2 prize knockout, putting yourself 1 turn away, but Gustavo still has that breathing room to try and get a final response KO on the Mew VMAX, or indeed anything on Mateusz's board, because by the time Mateusz has taken a response knockout here, he'll be down to 1 prize card remaining, and that's the perfect range for the Galarian Moltres. That's when it's most dangerous.
Yeah, it's going to be hitting a natural 270 at that point. There is nothing in Mateusz's deck that can stand up to that, except the Mew, if it wasn't weak. But it is, so it's actually 540, which is definitely enough to get the KO.
Yeah, we interestingly see the Pumpkin Pit coming in. This is like the only bit of minor, tiny disruption he could have gone for by removing his own stadium, just in case Gustavo was ever going to require a few extra cards if he was able to thin down his hand. That's literally the only disruption possible. And it did allow the Fusion Strike system to come in, drawing that 1 card for the Ultra Ball that was Rotom Phone to the top. So the VMAX has been established, and there's still a couple more Genesects here that can draw some additional cards, but it seems like he's more or less set up for the last prizes as long as the Mew isn't KO'd, and that's pretty much what he has to bank on here.
Yeah, I mean, if the Mew isn't KO'd, then he's got everything he needs to win the game next turn. If the Mew is KO'd, he's lost the game. At this stage, you know, the game really here is just down to whether Gustavo can get that single prize Galarian Moltres. If he can get it down with the free energy attached, the game will be over and Gustavo will win. If he can't, Mateusz is going to win. That's the interaction we're looking at here. That's what this game comes down to. And it's not a terribly pleasant feeling if you're Mateusz, because, you know, you're setting up your board, you're doing everything you can, but you know at this stage that the outcome of this game isn't really in your control. It is just waiting to see what your opponent does. So the combo is the Galarian Moltres, free energy, 2 of which have to be attached as you bench it, and a pivoting option for the Sobble.
And it seems pretty easy, because Gustavo got the Evolution Incense to his hand last turn with Shady Dealings. We've just seen Quick Ball for the Moltres. Now we're going to see the big Shady Dealings coming in. We know he already had Clara and Energy Search in the deck, so this is going to be pretty routine, as well as looks like he's grabbing Escape Rope as his option to move this Mew out the way. So it feels like he's way over the line here. If these are his selections, he's just really casual about it. He's already got the energy retrieval in hand. He already had everything established.
Yeah, now we've got free energy, we've got Galarian Moltres, we've got the pivot, and there we go. Gustavo Wada takes game 2, and we are 1 game apiece going into this final deciding game in top 4 in Masters. And this is wonderful because we're deciding who goes into the final. This is supposed to be a close game. This is supposed to be 2 players at the top of their game with fantastic decks, and that is exactly what we're seeing. And we've kind of seen the map for both players here. We've seen how Gustavo wins this game, and we've seen how Mateusz wins this game. And the good news is, because we're in Top Cup, 75 minutes. Now, we're going to have about 35 minutes to go here. If we weren't in Top Cup, we'd be looking at, like 15 minutes, 10 minutes to finish this game.
Stations,
We would be rushing. As it stands, we should have more than enough time to finish this 3rd complete game, and this is quite nice. When we get to Top Cup, there's no such thing as a tie. We are going to decide a winner in every game, so give a little bit of extra time, and this way we can have 3 complete games and really crown a proper winner.
Yeah, and both players have exploited, moments of weakness from the opponent. When there's been misses from Gustavo, Mateusz has pounced. When Gustavo has been able to capitalize on, when Mateusz cannot accumulate those power tablets to leap back into the deck, he's been able to pounce and take some big up trades. So both have shown off how they're able to navigate the matchup, how they're able to get over the line in a prize race. But it'll be interesting to see. I believe this will be the first time that Mateusz has the option of going first. So that could also be a spanner in the works for Gustavo.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Gustavo choosing to go first in both of the games so far, wanting to get those early evolutions, wanting to get rolling as fast as possible. But, going second with that Sobble is not the end of the world. It does give you some nice options. Both of these decks can function going first or second. It's not one of those decks that really wants a particular, we've seen these Malamar decks that want to go second because they've got Sobble and Brawly and they are the turn 1 options here. Either of these decks could comfortably go first or second, and it's an awkward one because really when you look at the 2 games, the game where Gustavo's deck worked best, he won.
Yeah.
And that first game, yes, Mateusz won, and yes, Mateusz's deck was amazing, but the real turning point in that game was when Gustavo whiffed that 3rd energy for Galarian Moltres. And let's face it, Mateusz's deck went phenomenally well at the start of last game, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, because the patient approach from Gustavo in that second game was just so different, and it actually looks a little bit awkward for Gustavo with a couple of those darkness energies in the prize cards. He plays a 5 darkness energy in total, and we've seen just how much he loves to put those early on in the discard pile, start pitching them off early because they function so well in the discard pile for his Galarian Moltres V, for Raihan, and even for that energy retrieval. So we'll see how he is able to react to this, as it looks like he's been forced to go first again here.
No, absolutely. Mateusz wants to go second and, try and have that big explosive turn, get those early KOs. And it's worked quite nicely. We've seen turn 1 KOs on a Sobble with an escape rope, game 1 and game 2 by Mateusz. And it's a nice way to start the game. It's a nice way to put on pressure. Gustavo, and it's starting to look weirdly familiar.
Have you ever seen this, folks?
It's gone and got that Snorlax. We're probably going to see a second Sobble and then a pivot and then a Gormandize, because that's how Gustavo plays game 1. Although, if we don't get a second Sobble down...
No, doesn't look like it. He's just thinning his hand as much as possible to be able to get the most out of Gormandize. So only having 1 Sobble accessible could mean that an escape rope play that we've seen so often alongside that Alessa Sparkle could be crazy for Mateusz, who actually has a few supporters in his hand. He's already got a couple of basic Pokemon, though, and a Cramomatic. This could be the difference between how crazy this game goes, actually, because we could see a Sparkle in just a Rotom and a Panic Genesect, but we could also see a huge Cramomatic Heads here. This is going to be wild.
It is going to be, because right now, that escape rope play that we've seen from Mateusz in both the first 2 games will be so much bigger. Here's the flip. It's a head!
Oh, my goodness. This is a game changer. The crowd has actually reacted to that. They saw how big it was, and he's actually going straight for the rope here. I think this is a really aggressive line. It means you're really banking on your Rotom phone to do the rest for you. You could have easily have just seen a VIP pass find its way to the top there, so you can have multiple bites at the cherry with lots of Genesects here. But he's just saying, I'm going to rope straight away, Sparkle straight away, and then I'm going to Rotom phone and hope for the best off of 1 Genesect here.
Yeah, it's a risky play. It absolutely is. You're right. He's going full aggression here rather than worrying too much. And I do like that. You retreat and then you rope.
Oh, wow. He's Rotom Phoning pre-Sparkle as well, but he's hit the energy, so he gave himself extra options. So he has a guaranteed KO here if he wants it, but it means he's really not sat on much else. Instead, there's the Genesect that you could go for, but here he's gone for the Sparkle second so that he has additional energy in his top decks for this Rotom Phone.
Absolutely, and we're going to see the KO with Mew. Say if he wants it, he's going to want it. He's going to get the KO then. That is.
I think he wants it. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel like to think so at this stage. And that's actually going to be really bad because not only is Gustavo going to be down to one Pokemon, but there's no shady dealings. We've been talking about how bad it is.
Look at this. Instead of going for the VIP pass, he's just cherry-picked the perfect board state to get that KO on Sobble, and Gustavo is left with just a Snorlax in play. And the majority of his engine, it is super reliant on Drizzile.
And I've got to say I like this play because we saw in Game 1 and Game 2, Mateusz had that perfect setup with a 5-bench Pokemon drawing half their deck or more. And in Game 1 it worked because Gustavo whiffed the energy, and in Game 2 it didn't work. What Mateusz is saying here is, look, this is a little bit of a different situation. I can take all of the Sobble off the board, completely shut off this Shady Dealings engine, and it's very aggressive, and he's not had the board set. In his hand is not good.
We're looking at a Sonya here. Is it going to be for a Moltres, or is it just going to be double Sobble? That really is the tale of what Gustavo has here. Yeah, the double Sobble. So we're not going to see any fireworks from the Fiery Wrath this turn by the looks of things. Just going to be trying to re-establish that board state and hoping that Gormandise can gobble up a few extra cards here. So yeah, he's just having a rebuild turn. There's nothing wrong with just trying to sit with as many 1 prizes as possible and allow only 1 prize to go down per turn here to just really put that Moltres more in range.
No, I quite like that. Just keep giving up little prizes here and there until your Moltres is doing enough damage. That is not a bad plan at all. It's not an ideal plan. You'd rather be taking big KOs, but as far as backup plans go, it ain't too bad. Now we see a third Sobble hitting the bench here, and this is Gustavo just backing up what we said. That Drizzile engine is so good, so important, and really what's happening here is that Gustavo is going to be on turn 3 before anything really meaningful happens.
Yeah.
Which means that Mateusz is in a good position, and we do know that although there's only 3 cards in hand, one of them is a Cramomatic, but there's no item card, so we just see Boss's orders on the Sobble. We're going to see another KO here.
Yep. Carrying on, also has that Cramomatic. This is another big flip by the looks of things.
And it's off the table.
Off the table. Let's see what it was.
It's a heads.
Another heads. My goodness. To be Mateusz, man. What a day. This is absolutely incredible. He can grab himself VMAX by the looks of things. Still not going for any Genesects and digging deeper. He's just saying, I'm on the charge. I don't want to slow down. Let's keep my head down and keep swinging.
I've got massive respect for anyone that goes, I did my usual thing last game and it didn't work. Let's mix it up. Let's just go full aggression, getting all of these attacks. You know the Genesect are going to come. You know the draws are going to come here. We've got double Meloetta and a Genesect on the bench, and there's going to be more cards being drawn, but Gustavo is just having options taken away left, right, and center.
Look at this. I mean, he's already played his Genesect, and he's got Rotom Phone, but I mean, what you take here, this is a dodge, to be honest. That's not a great card to put on top of your deck, and if the Mew does get picked apart next turn by Gustavo, yeah, Mateusz's board is really bad. It only has 1 Genesect to work off of. I would have liked to have seen a second Genesect from that Cramomatic for sure, or even like a Bull Search card to thin the hand even more. Yeah, and
that's the difficulty here is, you're playing these Rotom Phone, you're kind of hoping you hit. Mateusz started this turn with a very bad hand.
Yeah.
It was like a Meloetta and a Boss's orders. And a Boss's orders is fine for taking a prize, but it's not developing your board state at all, and that's something you need to do. So
Avery for 3, that can't feel good for Gustavo. It's not one of his Power Spike supporters. It's just drawing 3 cards and not even removing any bench Pokemon right now. The prize, by the way, for Mateusz is actually big. It's a Rose Tower. That's going to be very helpful for him when he's not working off many Fusion Strike systems. But will Gustavo, off those 3 cards from Avery, be enough to piece together a Moltres play here? Because he's gone for Avery straight at the gate, it means there's no Raihan Galarian Moltres V plays, and I don't think you can get over the amount of hit points right now with only 2 prizes taken with the regular Moltres.
No, the math works out really annoyingly. It can get up to 300 if you can find your one-off choice bout, but Mew's sitting there with 310, so you can get pretty gosh darn close.
Yeah, and here comes the Moltres right now. It's coming into play, and Gustavo is able to attach to it. We get free retreat from the Tower of Waters. So we are going to see some pressure here, and another Drizzle Shady dealing as well for the next turn. So I think he's just trying to put Mateusz in a position where he's forced to Psychic Leap, because we know that, although there's just one Genesect in play, that means that Mew is still like a mere mortal at this point. It can still miss things.
No, absolutely. And, getting rid of that Mew would be absolutely huge because Mateusz has got that Meloetta, but 2 Fusion Strike energy will be hitting the discard, which really makes Meloetta, it limits it to 140 plus whatever you can add with stuff like Power Tablet. So I really like this. I want to get rid of that Mew, quite frankly. That would be huge.
Yeah, he was looking for a right-hand play, but it just wasn't on the table for him by the looks of things.
Absolutely.
So he's going to have to settle for just putting damage on and giving a problem for Mateusz. Really more than anything else. But it's another big break that the Mew is sticking around, and now it's so heavily damaged that you have to think he's looking for a Psychic Leap play this turn.
You've got a Psychic Leap here. The problem is, are you going to do enough damage? Now
Ultra Ball, that's huge right now. He can get more Genesects, or he can guarantee a Mew here. I think you've got to go Genesect and just get as many cards as possible, because he's been holding off Genesect for a long time here, and he still has a lot of cards to thin.
Yeah, that deck is far too big for this stage of the game for a Mew player. Genesect would be good. I think we need one more damage modifier to get the KO with Psychic Leap, because you're doing 70, there's no resistance or anything. You've added 30, you're 20 away, so one more Power Tablet or a Choice Band would do it.
Not the Choice Belt, because obviously it's a one-prize Pokemon, right? So
of course
it has to be a
one-prize Pokemon. I have to make one silly mistake a day on stream. That was my one today, Joe.
It is what it is. We've got a couple of Genesects, though. The first one's at least drawing 5 cards. As you say, we're looking for a damage modifier in the form of Power Tablet only, as well as a Mew V, so that we can undo a ton of the damage that's been dealt from Gustavo on that previous turn. And hopefully he'll be leaping into possibly the Meloetta that has no energy attached to it. That would have to be one of his best options here. Already draws Fog Crystal, draws into more Genesect, which actually aren't helpful. Those are really bad cards. Once again, like, the Mew's good, but a lot of them aren't insta-playable. I think you can just thin the Fog Crystal, and then it's just down to, again, one Genesect here for the rest.
Yeah, this is not an ideal situation at all. The Fog Crystal is nice. You get that energy. That's quite good. But really, actually, what we could see is a KO with the Meloetta, but the problem is you're then not taking the Mew off the board.
Yeah, that's the fallback plan, right? If you're not able to find this last Power Tablet, you at least retreat and force Gustavo to find the Moltres as well as a Boss's Orders play, which typically isn't all that easy, but at least Gustavo plays that Energy Retrieval, which makes it easier than most builds of Urshifu with Moltres. We're going to see Ultra Ball, Quick Ball, and another Boss's Orders. These are not the cards he was looking for in this moment, so it's just going to be a free retreat and probably Melodious Echo here. Try and make Gustavo have the most amount of cards to actually deal with that V max on the bench.
It really is not an ideal situation, but you're still doing 210, you're still, 240 because there was a Power Tablet played. You're still getting the KO.
Yeah. Plenty of damage there.
Double damage.
Going down to 3 prize cards as well, and Gustavo may be forced to go through a 1-prize Pokemon, and that's a little bit awkward for him. Let's see what he can do. At least he does have access to big shady dealings, the Inteleon version where you're getting to double dip in one card, a big part of the engine here. Can we see some energy retrieval shenanigans alongside maybe Quick Ball? Some scoop up nets in here as well could allow him to double dip the big shady dealings, and that's never a bad thing. He is eyeing up Boss's Orders to the top here, so that's certainly part of his plan. He wants to deal with Pokemon that give up more than 1 prize card here.
Yeah, and this is the awkward thing, because you need that combo, because as it stands at the moment, you're thinking, right, Boss's Orders on that Mew, get the KO, jobs are good, but you don't actually have an attacker on the board right now, so Gustavo needs to piece all of this together in one go. You need to get that Boss's Orders, and you need to get all of your attackers, and the thing is, if you can take it down, then that puts Mateusz in an awkward situation, because Meloetta is not a particularly good attacker, not when the Fusion Strike energies start hitting the discard. So that kind of makes Mateusz want to attack with Mew, but then something like a Galarian Moltres V could come down, get the KO, take those last 3 prizes. As it is, it looks like Gustavo is going for a Quick Ball, and was that an energy retrieval?
Absolutely was, yep. So we're going to see the Cheryl hit that discard pile, certainly not a card for this matchup. And he's going to go hunting now for his second copy of the Galarian Moltres. And that's going to be allowing him to at least Malevolent charge up and get some energy. I have to imagine there's already a Scoop Up Net in his hand, otherwise that surely would have been one of his selected cards here. So he can certainly get the Moltres down, and he could be dealing for the Boss's Orders with his second Inteleon of the turn.
Yeah, absolutely. So there goes a scoop up net.
Yep.
And there goes that. I thought he had the boss's orders in hand. I could be wrong about that.
No, I think he sort of fanned it to the top of his deck and then selected other targets. But yeah, he may be eyeing up the boss's orders now. He could also just be getting supporter cards for a future turn, because you may be, with only one boss's orders in the deck and one pal pad, you may still be forced to go through a one prizer at some point in the game here. I don't know where that Dark Energy's got to. Was that in his discard pile, the one that's face up right now?
I believe
he's
got
actually
it with the energy search.
Yeah,
he skipped a step there.
He's just skipping. Cool, seems all good here. He can now play the boss's orders. He's making sure that that VMAX is dealt with. It's a ton of over KO here, a lot of wasted damage, so to speak. But he needs to deal with the VMAX before it leaps back into the deck.
Yeah, this is kind of annoying, because this would have KO'd a fresh VMAX.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not an option here. There's only the damage VMAX, but you cannot let it psychic leap back into the deck. You cannot do that much damage to it and then not get the KO and allow them to just, undo all of your hard work. So, Mateusz in an awkward situation now, but we do know there's one boss's orders.
Yeah.
How's Mateusz?
I'm sure by now he's seen enough of this Urshifu archetype around the top tables that he's been able to see it in action, and possibly even knowing Robin's deck list from the Liverpool stream, or not the stream, unfortunately, just from the regionals itself. So we'll see how Mateusz tries to play around this, and of course Gustavo does play a pal pad, so it is a recoverable supporter card.
Yes.
So Mateusz probably is looking to get the response KO here with the Meloetta, or if he is going to use another VMAX, again, it has to be some sort of leaping play. He's actually found his Rose Tower to the discard pile. Judges on the case straight away. You'd love to see that. They are active and doing a great job right now, keeping track of everything for us to make sure the top four goes smoothly here. And the VMAX is the selection for Mateusz here. Also helpful with that Ultra Ball, discarding cards to help him top up his hand size with some Fusion Strike systems.
No, absolutely. That's always a good thing. So we're going to see that now, the Fusion Strike system drawing a couple of cards. Got an Ultra Ball coming in here.
It's rewind time. It's more Ultra Balls coming in. And I think he's also got Quick Ball. He needs to thin a little bit here, because I'd like to see some more energy drops this turn. Get rid of Rose Tower and Quick Ball by the looks of things, and just fail the search, as you can see, just shuffling immediately. Not wanting to put the VMAX into play, even though he searched it out. But it does mean he has a couple more dips with Genesect.
No, absolutely. There's always more options to get those cards back, which is quite nice. You see the second Fusion Strike system coming in here from that Genesect, drawing a couple more cards, including that Battle VIP Pass, not very useful, and that Power Tablet that would have been useful a couple of turns ago.
Oh, useful right now, because we're only at 70 damage right now with Melodious Echo, so we're going to have to see the Scoop Up Net and another draw with Genesect. Hits Rotom Phone and VIP Pass. Not ideal, but we can see a boss's orders on a Sobble here. I think that's the only way he can get a prize card. It feels really bad leaving a Moltres around, though.
Yeah, getting that KO is not a good idea. Well, I mean, it's nice to get the KO, but you're right, you're leaving that Moltres around. And, Gustavo's got to be loving this. If you don't KO that Galarian Moltres, because now there's a potential for Gustavo, and there's no two-prize Pokemon on Gustavo's board. So if Gustavo can take a single-prize Pokemon and a two-prize Pokemon, that's going to be the game. Yeah,
already eyeing up Clara as well. We know that there's a Moltres in his discard pile, so he can develop another Moltres this turn. He only has Fighting Energy, though, so we'll see if he has anything to Malevolent Charge at the same time. You'd love to see even one Darkness Energy coming down this turn would be a really big deal, but he actually has a lot. So, and yeah, there we go. That's the game.
Goodness.
It's just a concession.
Mateusz concedes. Gustavo is headed to the final.
I mean, it wasn't guaranteed at that point, but he could see the writing on the wall, I guess. Gustavo could easily have a map there with two one-prize Moltres. Mateusz couldn't really change that fact. There was always going to be a one-prize code that turn, and then simply Gustavo would have had to find one boss's orders to close out the game. Mateusz could have played towards something like the Power Pad being the last prize of Gustavo, or something wild like that. I would have loved to have seen him wait around to at least see the Power Pads, but it looked like Gustavo had it all wrapped up there and had enough dealings to get over the line.
Absolutely. And that is a second game where we've seen Gustavo's opponent concede a little bit earlier than I would usually have expected. Remember, we're in a knockout tournament here. You know, there's no time to be saved. That was game 3 of top 4. But like you say, the writing was on the wall. That second Galarian Moltres coming down, that really made the difference. That changed everything at that stage. And unfortunately, Mateusz, who had a phenomenal run in their first big tournament, you know, huge congratulations to them. But they looked at the board, they looked at Gustavo, and unfortunately, there was just nothing to be done.
And man, is there anything more scary in this format than a Mew player running hot. We saw some big chromatic heads, we saw some big VIP passes in the opening turns, and Mateusz really showed off how powerful the deck can be. But yeah, Gustavo was able to get over the line. He didn't have it all his way by any means.
Oh, no.
He had to take a few turns off here and there, Gormandizing up and just resetting the board, Sonyaring just for double Sobble. These aren't plays that you like to see, but he was patient. He only left one prize Pokemon around, so slowly, bit by bit, he was able to get into the range of the Moltres, and it was able to capitalize on those big Mew VMAXs in the end.
Absolutely, and that does, of course, confirm that Mew VMAX will not be winning the European International Championship.
So many people let down by that, I'm sure.
I know. The last Mew VMAX has fallen. All those Mew fans, unfortunately, will not see it take home the crown. And we are still on course, potentially, for an all-Urshifu final.
Yeah, and Gustavo Wada books his place once again in the finals. What a story. I mean, how does this keep happening? There's romance in these internationals with Stefan, with Tord, so many great stories. And now Gustavo could be a two-time EUIC winner? That's insane.
It does seem weird. You know, Tord's running around collecting different internationals, and everybody else is trying to double up on the same one. There's different game plans going on here. You know, Stefan stamping his mark on North American internationals, Gustavo stamping the mark on European. See, interestingly, not the region they're actually from, going to other regions and putting their stamp on those internationals, while Tord tries to run around and collect the set. Only one missing for Tord.
Yeah, jet lag, not a problem at all. Preparation is all that matters, and Gustavo is loving coming over to Europe and is doing excellently. He's put his place into the finals again. Let's see what he thought about that top 4 match.
I'm here.